huge trade alongside Devontae Adams yesterday was the Bills acquiring Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns. The Bills go with a 2025 third and a 6th-round pick for Amari Cooper, and as well as they also receive a 7th-round pick alongside Cooper in the trade. So far this season, he has on the year for 6 games, 250 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns on 24 catches. Not that good, but you look at the situation with the Browns with Deshaun Watson, that dysfunction going on there. Whether that's on him or Deshaun Watson, I mean, it's pretty safe to say the situation doesn't look good regardless. Another thing that is to note as well is I don't know where he ranks exactly. If he does lead the NFL, or certainly he's high up there, he does have 6 drops. If you look at Pro Football Focus, look at the advanced stats, he does have 6 drops on the year. And again, I know that's relatively high in the league. I don't know where that exactly ranks, but no doubt that's high up there, if not the top of the list there. So that is something to note. That is a little bit of a concern going into, to a new team in Buffalo. Again, whether it was on Deshaun Watson or Amari Cooper, we'll see how that plays out with Josh Allen. But for this trade, I no doubt I love this. I think this is a wide receiver that the Bills have desperately needed this year. Something that we kind of hoped we were going to get in the draft. I mean, they have Keon Coleman. So far, they have not used him to his not using him to his specialty, to his strengths, being in the slot. So no doubt that's going to be a little bit of a slow progress for him. But adding Amari Cooper alongside him, as well as other people, Shakir, Kincaid, that's really going to bolster the offense, and it's going to bring a wide receiver that defenses respect. This is for Amari Cooper, I've always viewed him as a look at his career wise, a relatively underrated receiver. I think he's had a phenomenal career so far coming out in 2015. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's on the cusp of almost 10,000 receiving yards. He has, I believe, 62 total touchdowns. If you go back to career, 62 total touchdowns, just under 10,000 receiving yards, and on the cusp of 700 receptions as well. So again, no doubt a very productive wide receiver everywhere he's gone, from Oakland to Dallas to Cleveland, up until, of course, this year, of course. But again, like we said, we see how the situation is playing out there. But last 2 years in Cleveland has put up phenomenal numbers as well. So again, everywhere he's gone, he's been very productive. And this is something that, looking back in 2018, almost the same, mirror scenario of what's happening now. Granted, this was a much younger Amari Cooper at the time, but in 2018 and his last year with the Raiders, in 6 games he had 22 catches, 280 yards, 1 touchdown. Sounds awfully familiar to so far this year. Once he gets traded to Dallas, the remaining 9 games of the year, or 9 games he played, I should say, he had 53 catches for 725 yards, 6 touchdowns. And again, I'm not guaranteeing you this is going to happen, because again, it's a much younger Amari Cooper, whether he's slowing down because of age or the drops, whatever it may be. But if this is something that we can really relatively get close to for the remainder of the season, that is immense. That is huge. That is something that the Bills desperately need. They need someone that, more importantly, that can separate. And Amari Cooper can no doubt do that. You look at the rest of the roster. I mean, Shakir definitely is the best wide receiver on the team, but he did miss the Houston game, and you saw the kind of repercussions of that. No one was able to really step up. Keon Coleman, like we said, I think he's a good wide receiver. He's just being misused. He should be in the slot more, but they're misusing him. In his specialty as of right now, I'm not saying he can ever play outside, but I think they should slowly progress him on that. But unfortunately, they're kind of pushing him into a situation that he's not built for right now. You look at Kincaid, whatever that may be, whether it's he's not getting separation or not targeting him, that's also a player that needs to step up and they need to target more. But again, when you bring in Amari Cooper like that, it finally brings somebody that people respect. Before that, if you want to say again, Shakir was the only one they respected, but I think outside of that, there was no big name that people were scared of. Amari Cooper does bring that. I'm not saying he's a world beater. I'm not saying he's an elite wide receiver right now. Even if you compare him to the Devontae Adams trade, I'm not saying it. If you compare the wide receivers 1-to-1, obviously, no doubt Devontae Adams is a much better wide receiver than Amari Cooper. But I think the situation-wise of what they gave up, and more importantly, the money that they're going to be paying him, they only owe him $800,000 for the rest of the year, which is an absolute steal for Amari Cooper, for his specialty and how he is as a wide receiver. To me, a very underrated wide receiver throughout his career, absolutely productive everywhere he's gone, and this is something that the Bills desperately needed for this. So far in Pro Football Focus, he does have a little bit of a not the best grade, 63 overall for the rest of the year. You look at targets, 50th, he is top 10 in the league for targets. For receptions, he is tied for 30th for 24, 47th for 250 receiving yards, and tied for 26 with 2 touchdowns. So again, nothing spectacular, but he is going to a much better situation where he is the undisputed wide receiver one. And I think this kind of will shift away from that everybody eats mentality, because you now have that guy, if you want to say, that bona fide number one wide receiver, the legit wide receiver one on this team. Doesn't mean you can't also go with Shakir a lot or Coleman or Kincaid, but this finally brings somebody that's respectable to that offense that Josh Allen knows he can rely on, that he can separate and get open pretty easily. Even looking for the rest of the grades for the year, again, if you want to throw out the window, like I said, because of Deshaun Watson and the Browns, it's been relatively down. The only good game he had grading wise was in week 3 against the Giants, where he had 78.4 rating. After that, it's been tough. You got 40s, 50s, a couple 60s, but not to his standard. It's not been the best. But again, I think this is something that he will flip a switch on. I don't want to guarantee you and promise you it's going to be these stats, but I do think he's going to have a similar reoccurrence like it was in 2018, where it's going to explode. It's going to pop off. Who knows? Hopefully for our sake, it does get to that point, or even much more than that. But no doubt, this is a fantastic move that the Bills have done. This is a name, especially around Bills fans, that they've been kind of asking for a while, especially in the offseason and then early into the season. This is a name that people constantly brought up, maybe at the trade deadline, and we're a few weeks away from that, so it's a little bit surprising they would do that now, right at this moment right now. But again, this was a name that was floated around at the trade deadline. Maybe the Bills can do something then, but for them to get it done a few weeks prior to that, and maybe steal him from somewhere else, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs or someone else were trying to go after him. I think that was an amazing pickup. I don't want to go over the edge and saying this is Super Bowl bound. This is going to put them in contenders. I still think there's a lot of things that they need to fix on the team as well. Defensively, I think they have some problems on that side. We saw from the New York Jets game the amount of yards they gave up for wide receivers and the running back. So with Aaron Rodgers, the numbers he put up as well, and receiving and the offensive wise too. Again, I don't want to say too this is going to be instant impact. It may be a game or two for Amari Cooper to get adjusted to the offense and the Josh Allen. So don't expect anything sudden all of a sudden. I mean, hopefully I'm wrong and he pops off the first game. We'll see if he'll play on Sunday against the Titans if it's that fast. I mean, he does have a good amount of time to at least get some knowledge of the offense and again the connection with Josh Allen before then. But again, for me, I think I agree with some of the grading I saw. I think ESPN put it. I think this is an A+ trade for this one. Maybe a little bit more than I would have willing to give up. Initially, when I heard 3rd round pick, I was like, that's a little too high than I thought. I thought maybe like at least a 4th or 5th round pick because of just the situation of the Browns. But again, when you're factoring $800,000 for his specialty, I mean, a 3rd round pick is nothing. And hopefully the Bills are able to bring him back after this year if he is productive on a cheap deal. We'll see what happens with them. But again, Buffalo has made a surprising trade, basically the rival of the New York Jets. Again, they acquire Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns alongside a 7th round pick. In return, they give up a 3rd and a 6th.